It's time for the Brouhaha Sports Show. Brouhaha Sports with award-winning sports writer Dale McKee and co-host Marshall Wood. Talking sports with the legends of the game and famous sports personalities. Brouhaha. Now to Marshall and Dale with tonight's guest.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to I'm not going to call it a weird brouhaha, but the timing of it may be. Dale McKee and I here to get you folks to talk a little sports tonight. Dale, how you doing?
Well, I'm just trying to stay warm, Mr. Wood.
Yeah. You know, desperate times with this terribly predicted weather that we were looking at. You know, this show is, as you're listening, you know, is on Thursday instead of Tuesday. We had the prospect of some bad weather, and Dale made an executive decision that we would kind of change the timing up a little this week. Good shot, Dale. I think you were wise in doing that. You're not snowed in anywhere, are you?
No, unfortunately, I'm not. Sorry.
Well, I'll tell you what.
If I was in Vail, Colorado, I would be snowed in, but I'm not here in Whistler, Mississippi for sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm sitting down here in Waynesboro, Mississippi, and, you know, the miracles of modern technology. We got us a little radio show, and we can talk to people all over the country, and we can even talk to each other and record a show and not even be together. That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. It's very amazing, this technology.
Yeah.
It's booming these days, isn't it?
It's booming. Now, speaking of which, this technology, you utilize technology to write a column every week, that you've been doing it for a long, long time. Let's get started off with the sideline view. I tell you what, there's a lot of mighty fine basketball being played in the state of Mississippi at the highest levels, is it not?
Yeah, we got two fine men's teams in Mississippi State and Ole Miss. I think both of them are highly ranked. I'm going to look at that right now on my computer while we're talking. Both of them, I think last week Mississippi State was like 16th and Ole Miss was like 21st, and they came out with a basketball poll, I think a couple days ago. And let me just look while we're doing it right here. I can do it real quick. It says Ole Miss is 16th and Mississippi State's 14th. That's a whole country now. Whole 50 states now.
That ain't just Mississippi.
No. So we're pretty good in some things. You know,
Yeah.
Ole Miss luckily have a high ranking in football this year. Now we got two teams in basketball that are ranked high. And I've got to give a shout out to Tracy English and his William Carey Lady Crusaders. They're 16-0 this year. So, you know, they're having a banner season.
Well, you know, the Crusaders, we talk about them from time to time. Basketball, baseball, man, they've got a really first-class operation over there. They compete at the highest level in their division that you could possibly compete at, don't they?
Oh, yeah, they're getting the biggest bang for their money for sure.
Yeah.
They got two Hall of Famer coaches, and Bobby Alford in baseball, and Steve Knight in basketball, men's basketball. So, you know, they're doing quite well.
Yeah. Well, we're proud of them. They're a big part of our area here. Well, Dale, what'd you think about the national championship game after all the hoopla and all the fussing and moaning? I've done my share about the playoffs and how they select the teams, but it's all over now. We got a national champion, and guess what? Surprise, surprise. What do you think?
Well, as this process was going on, I think Notre Dame impressed a lot of folks with just their grit.
Yeah.
And but they finally met their match, and it was because they were out-coached or outplayed or anything like that. Ohio State is they've just got a talent of offensive weapons.
Yeah.
They've got, the wide receivers are just, they're phenomenal. They've got great running backs. In this day and time, people fuss. I don't care what team it is. If it was this year, I heard it many times from Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Southern Miss, Alabama fans. Our offensive line is not that good. But, after I watch these playoffs, those offensive linemen are hard to get these days. I mean, they're just not making them.
Yeah.
They used to, a guy that was 6'5" and 250 pounds was going to be an offensive lineman. In today's world, he might be a quarterback, you know?
Yeah. That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the way the game has revolved a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, but I was impressed. I thought Notre Dame's offensive line was very well coached for the talent level. And Ohio State really got on a mission after the Michigan game, if that makes sense. They were embarrassed. They knew they were better than they really were, and I knew they were too, because I'm in a little football pool with a bunch of other buddies of mine, and we selected the bowl games themselves, the winners. Not by point spread, just by, you know, who's going to win, you know.
Yeah.
And then on the other end, for the playoffs, we did it like a basketball bracket and had a 12-playoff, and I picked Ohio State to win it all.
Yeah.
I really thought that, I don't know, there was just something about, I just thought that, man, these guys have got the best talent. They are going to have to, you know, they should win.
Well,
and I thought they did. You know, they had some key players come in. I thought their quarterback was tremendous last night. He was just an average player at Kansas State, to be honest with you, last year.
Yeah.
And he completed first 13 passes, I think, last night.
Yeah.
They had the little running back from Ole Miss, Junkins. He put on a show. That little Jeremiah Smith at wide receiver. He's a freshman, and man, he could play in the league tomorrow. You know, he's that good. You know.
Junkins had 3 touchdowns. Did you hear me?
Anyway, that's my thoughts on the national championship game.
Judkins, my 2 major thoughts. Judkins had 3 touchdowns. I was happy for him. He did a great job. But I guess Coach Kelly down at LSU was right. He said he left Notre Dame because they didn't have the resources to win a national championship. And I tell you, I guess he was right. They couldn't quite pull it off. But, you know, if you think about it, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dale, it seems like if you look at the national championships this century, there's 3 schools that come to mind: Alabama, Ohio State, and Clemson. I mean, they seem to have had more success, to me, that I can recall in the playoffs, winning national championships this century so far. You know, so the more things change, the more they stay the same, brother.
Yeah, but going forward, I think we're going to have different contenders. I think Oregon out west is going to get in the picture more, but just because of Nike.
Yeah.
I say that, and I live 1,000 miles from Oregon. I just think of that. I think Texas is going to be a major player in the future.
Yeah.
I don't think how I mean, and what I'm saying is I'm going to places that have resources to play these players. So unless they change the rules, these players, you know, used to people, you know, back in the day, right after integration. I mean, let's be honest, right after integration, the black athletes really had no loyalty to any of the Mississippi schools because their parents probably didn't go to school there. So they would travel out of state sometime to go play, and people would fuss about it. But you know, they had no loyalty. Well, now the game's back to that way. There's really, yeah, my dad played at Alabama, but you know what? Ohio State's offered me more money, or Auburn's offered me more money.
Yeah.
I think that's where I want to go, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think it's going to trickle on down. I wouldn't be surprised if it's going to trickle down into the JUCOs, into the high schools, and everything else, you know?
Yeah.
I just think it's, unless they fix the system somehow, I think we're always going to have this, you know? But I really think in the future, just me listening to all the ESPN experts and everything like this, one day we will have a college football commissioner just like the NFL.
Nick Saban.
And we're going to, I don't know, Nick may be a little old for that, you know. I mean, no, he may not want to tackle that major project right now.
Yeah.
But I think you're going to have one of those, and you're going to probably have a super league.
Yeah.
You know, like 50 or 60 teams, you know.
Yeah.
I think the perfect scenario would be like 5 12-team leagues, and things like that. Yeah. People fuss about, you shouldn't let, Urban Meyer said last week, you should only let the conference champions in. Well, they don't do that in NFL because just look at the Detroit Lions. They're not playing anymore.
Yeah.
I don't think I think the playoff system, because, you just think about it from our perspective, high school football. These guys played, 6 league games?
Yeah.
What about if you're going to play the other undefeated team and your best player gets sick that week?
Yep.
And then you have no recourse. You may not win that game, but if he gets healthy and you've got him 4 games later in the playoffs, you may beat that team.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's a fair way or not, but, I think the way they're doing it's exciting. I think there was more excitement this year than it's ever been. I mean, I watched the game last night. I was kind of anxious to see how it would come out.
Yeah.
And probably in the past I wouldn't have done that for some reason. I don't know, I might not have been, that interested in, say, an Ohio State-Clemson matchup.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. Well,
but that's my thoughts, Mr. Wood.
Outstanding. Listen, we're about out of time for our opening segment tonight. Who's our guest this week? Do you know?
I thought you were going to get the guest.
I got one.
You got one?
I got
Who
one.
did you get?
I got Coach Jack Hankins, Wayne County High School. He's got a program coming up.
Man, I tell you what, you went fishing and you got the big fish out of the big pond.
I got the big local fish, buddy, and he's got a program, a second annual meeting of a area football talk deal at the high school this Friday, tomorrow actually. So coaches coming in from all over. Marcus Boyles is going to be speaking up there, so we're going to talk about that and about high school football a little bit. But right now, Dale, we're going to take a break to hear from our sponsor, and we'll be back in a little bit, maybe a minute or so, with tonight's guest, Jack Hankins, head coach, Wayne County High School War Eagle football. We'll see you after the break.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Well, welcome back to our second portion of tonight's show. And as promised, we got the head coach of Wayne County High School War Eagle football, Coach Jack Hankins. Welcome aboard, Coach Hankins. Good to have you on the Brouhaha.
All right.
Yeah, you've never been on the Brouhaha.
I've never been on it, so good.
Have you ever been in one?
No comment. No.
Well, anyway, listen, there's a lot going on, man. You got a lot to talk to us about. You got a big event coming up. I believe it's the second annual. Let's talk about that a little bit. Tell us about what you got going on Friday and how it all came about and what's going to be going on. Talk to us about that.
Sure. Marshall's kind of vision about, we got great facilities here at Wayne County, and people from outside may not know that, but when we built our film room, we've got basically a film room. We've got basically a 150-seat auditorium in there, and it's part of our vision to host events and different things, and especially I know they do ACT training in there to help, different things during the year that helps our school. I know teachers meet in there, but I'm telling you, we're hosting we're going to call it our second annual football talk. It's just a football coaches clinic, kind of designed and geared toward the high school football coach.
Okay.
Now there's clinics at Mississippi State and Alabama and LSU. Everybody's got a clinic. And Marshall, to be honest with you, there's probably 500 or 600 people there. And you don't get a time to really sit down and talk ball. And, doing this about 30 years now, the main thing, probably the most football I ever learned, is kind of like you and I just sitting down one-on-one, but whether it's being at a restaurant or on a bar or just somewhere talking about football, and you might write a play down or some ideas down on a napkin or something like that. Yeah. So, we got the dry erase boards. We always get some good speakers, but it's made in a setting to where you can ask questions and you can talk ball. That's why we average to come talk ball with, we want these coaches to kind of feel, hey, if you're at Alabama or LSU or Mississippi State or Ole Miss, it's easy to talk about what you do with that 6'5", 320-pound 5 technique you got, and you may have situations that are not quite what the high school coach deals with. So that's kind of designed and geared to high school coaches. We've got some good college coaches speaking though, but it's designed to have the high school coaches here in an environment where we can talk and not feel kind of 500 people, that's a lot to kind of get a question in that way.
Yes, sir. Have you got certain people that'll come in and speak and do certain topics, or how does that work?
We do. We always try to get a keynote speaker every year. This year, Coach Boyles is going to be our keynote speaker. He attended the clinic last year, just as a regular coach, but he's speaking. And I tell you, we got a great. Every year, I thought last year was the best lineup, and I've had probably 10 coaches tell me that's a great lineup of men. And usually this is what I like. In that room, there's usually 15 to 20, if not more, guys holding state championships and holding that golden ball that they're speaking to people, And I know players matter, but I know coaching matters too. And so you got Coach Boyles to kick us off. And then let me tell you, I thought it was absolutely awesome. We get Coach Pollard, the head coach at Jones.
Yeah.
He's going to come talk. Jeff Kelly, people may not know him, or they may know him. And here in Mississippi, you better know him.
Yes, sir.
He's quarterback at Southern Miss, but he's done a phenomenal job at Saraland High School. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think they played for the last 4 6A state championships. He does a super job.
You got him coming.
Yeah, he's coming. That's a big deal.
Wow.
And Coach Satterwhite, Harry Satterwhite, coming. He is the quarterback coach at East Mississippi up in Scuba.
Okay.
And he does a phenomenal job. He's going to talk about quarterback play, which we all can use quarterback drills. I know I couldn't, everybody could. We'll take some lunch, and then we got Coach Mancuso coming. I know that's a name familiar. Now, all these guys that I've got speaking could be the keynote speaker.
Yeah.
It is a home run lineup. Coach Mancuso is going to come talk to us a little bit about some of the things they do, and then we're going to end it with a coach from Gaucher, Mark High, who just played in the 5A state championship game, and he's going to talk about their air raid and some of their concepts that they do. And we got everything from air raid to wing tee stuff to just. Coach Kelly's going to talk about his call sheet organization, some of his quick passing game that's attached to his runs, and I know Coach Boyles going to talk about competing in season, off season. I tell you, it is a great line. I'm totally fired up about it. It's a great group of men, great group of speakers, and there's some daggum winners in that room.
Yeah, there's a lot of rings floating around in that room,
and
buddy.
they ain't no doubt. So I'm excited about that.
What do you think? Based on last year, what kind of crowd would you expect? 10, 20, 50?
Well, we're thinking around 50, give or take. I don't know what this weather's going to do to us from the week, with the snow. It should be out of here and should be good. Last year I want to say, Marshall, we had 35 here, which for the first year I thought was phenomenal. My goal is to get that thing up to 100 people. That's what I'd like to have. Yeah. And again, not 500, because then you get to what we're talking about. But
you can't talk.
And I know we'll never have. But anywhere 50 to 100 people. Last year, like I said, we had I think mid-30s. So I've had a lot more earlier calls. Coaches can get CEU credits for this that they need. So I think it's going to be. I'm hoping around 50, or it could be more, it could be less. So. Wow. You never know, but we're going to be prepared. We got it. We can hold 150, so we'll be prepared regardless. So I'm excited about it. Good group of coaches going to come talk, and let me tell you everything. And I've heard Nick Saban say it recently on all the college football playoff broadcasts that everything he learned he got from somebody else. You take it and you do it, and hopefully you can get your kids to do it better than the other guy. But every idea in football. Is nobody just came up with this on their own. Everything is kind of shared or stolen, is what I say. You either
probably stolen.
Yeah, you either share it or you steal it. So anyway, it's going to be a good time. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, it sounds like a lot of fun, and I tell you what, that's important for our community and for the Wayne County high school community and the Warrigal football community, because it puts it in the center.
That's right.
Among these people, and it makes other people aware, what's going on here. And we're blessed with these facilities to be able to do this kind of thing.
You do. And Marshall, I tell this a lot. People don't know this because they see us kind of out here close to Alabama, kind of away maybe a little bit. We do a lot of things good here. People don't realize that. It seems like, I guess it's the thing with press, all you hear about is the negative. We do a lot of great things here. That stems down from our administration on down with our kids, and we got some great facilities, and again, we had a lot to be proud of here. Sometimes I think if we had focused on a lot of the positive, you'd look back and see that we got a lot to be thankful for. Yeah. And let me tell you, I'm grateful for our people here. There's a lot of good going on at Wayne County High School.
I see it, and I'm excited about it. Let's kind of flip change the deck around a little bit and talk about another topic. I guess philosophy in coaching philosophy. That's a term I don't even really know what that means, Coach. But I mean, I hear that name, that term thrown around a lot. What is coaching philosophy? What's the philosophy mean to you? And do you have one?
Absolutely. I don't think you can be successful without having one. Yeah. First of all, it boils down. I think when you say, Marshall, I think it boils down to your beliefs. You want to do what works. You say, well, you hadn't really answered the question yet. Well, here's the thing. If you don't have a bunch of skilled people and a bunch of receivers and a bunch of, you can't run the spread. If you don't have a bunch, a couple of tight ends or linemen.
Imagine that personnel.
That
affects your philosophy.
It does. Well, my philosophy is you better run what your kids can run. Okay, my first year here, I came into a situation. We had 4 really, really good receivers.
Yeah.
And really had a good 5th and 6th one. So, and we had a guy that could sling it a little bit. We ran more 10 personnel stuff. You saw us in more 4 wide receivers. So the first part of my philosophy is that we're going to run what our players allow us to run. What do we do the best? What is our best skill set? Okay, that's number one. The second thing is, and you get all these coaches and all these newfound plays and gadgets and all this stuff that's going on. And let me tell you something. I don't care if you run the spread or you're running the wing tee or you see, it all comes down to 2 things. And this is my philosophy. Marshall, it comes down, can you block better than the other person? And can you tackle better than the other person? And I don't care if you're running the spread or you're running an 11 personnel grouping where you have a tight end and 1 back or you're running some newfound NFL offense. You better be able to block and you better be able to tackle. Yeah. And all the rest of that stuff really don't matter. You got to tailor that around your kids. Yeah. And part of our philosophy also is we just don't want to coach ball. That's kind of we want to coach the whole person. We want to coach the physical, absolutely. Absolutely, you got to coach the physical. We want to coach the mental, and we want to coach the spiritual part of our kid. We want to take a holistic. We want this young man that goes through our program to be a better young man, because football don't last forever.
Right.
But having a young man that's got great character and great integrity, that makes great decisions, you know what? He's going to be a great dad one day. He's going to be a great husband one day, and he's going to be a great worker in our communities one day, wherever he's at. So, it goes more. Your philosophy goes more than just winning games. I'm no idiot. I know that winning games is what keeps your job. I know that, and you got to win games. But if you do all those things right, the winning kind of takes care of itself. So I know that was probably a shorthand version of what we got. That's what we believe in. That's what we're going to operate by.
I guess that's a big deal that you just hit with the philosophy. I didn't see that coming, Coach, but it makes me think. In the NFL, you can draft people that fit your philosophy.
At 100%.
At college, you recruit people that fit your philosophy. Mm-hmm. On high school,
you take what mom and daddy gives you.
It constantly changes. Every team requires a different philosophy.
It does.
Never thought about that.
100%. So, absolutely. So, last year, let's just take us real quick, and we won't get into a whole lot of it. We had 3 really good fullbacks and two really good tight ends and 2 really good what we call H-backs. Man, that was conducive to us running the football and smashing people in the face. That's kind of that setup wouldn't be great for a 4-wide spread all over the field all the time.
Right.
We did have some good receivers, but that was the strength, and behind a big offensive line, that was the strength, and that's what kind of led us around, and we got hot there at the end. So that's kind of things that we always want to look at.
Okay. Well, listen, that's the thing about us. We're going to touch a bunch of topics. We're going to change channels.
You're working me hard tonight today.
Dog. Hook him up, plowing. Lots of trends in athletics these days. The changes. We see all kind of things about the portals at the next level and these NIL deals, and all the trends that we see in football. Now, do these things are they trickling down to the high school level, or might they at some point, and what kind of effect may that have or not have? You got feelings on that?
I do have feelings on that.
Let's hear 'em.
And you're absolutely correct. Everything you see, let me just say, everything you see on TV does trickle down to our guys.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything you see in college, it goes from the pros to the college to the high school. It may not hit us at the same time. Usually we're several years behind that.
Right.
Not a lot though.
Yeah.
But you touched on something that's kind of NIL deal. Is it in high school? Absolutely. Absolutely,
It's
it
out
is.
there now,
It's
huh?
out there now. You've got states that are around us that are going ahead, which, as a high school player, you're not supposed to be paid to play ball.
Right.
This is amateur athletics, right? We're
Right.
scholastic amateur athletics. You've got states now around us that's saying, go ahead and vote and says it's okay for Marshall Wood, quarterback at Wayne County High School. Now you can get an NIL deal. Some states are voting that. That's a hot topic. It's been on the platforms. I know in Tennessee and Georgia and Louis. I know that's been around, and states are starting to allow that to creep in. My thing that gets me is I think a lot of that is good. I'm all for the players getting paid. I know what time it takes. I know how much time it took when I was in college. You have no time for a job. I'm for that for these guys. Yeah. Man, I'm for it 100%. Yeah. But you got to be careful with and I wish they quote unquote so-called agents and advisors, because a lot of people's giving bad advice, and a lot of people's giving advice based on what can that young man do for the agent or the advisor,
the advice giver.
Yeah. But I'm telling you, we've had one here last year. We had one here last year that was being recruited to a school in Florida that was guaranteed this, and this, and but the when you sign your D1 contract, you get part of your NILs given back to me. It's here in high school athletics.
Wow!
Don't you think it's not? It's here, and it's on. I tell you, there's a nasty side to it. Again, I'm all for the guys getting money where they can
it's done right.
There's a nasty side to it, and you've heard this. I'm probably not the only. There's at some point there's got to be parameters set to it. There's got to be some guidelines. They opened this Pandora box up, and there's no guidelines or parameters. And it was a wild, wild west and free for all. This, and it's just been it's been, I don't know. It's kind of took a little fun out of it a little bit, to be honest with you. But every team, I'm big on loyalty. And I know some guys say, I'm loyal to getting that money. Is what some people going to say. But,
yeah.
I'm big on loyalty. And, I'm at Alabama this year, Ohio State next year, Texas the next year. I mean, it's going to just be the highest bidder. And there's not going to be any, the NCAA once wanted a lot of parity. That the NFL, the whole NFL scheme is set up for parity, equality in the league, even from the draft to the caps you got, the salary caps, all those are parameters based on equality. Then players matter. Then good coaching matters. But right now you're going to have the haves and the have-nots. And, you've got probably 5 or 10 teams that can be the haves, and everybody else is kind of just watching and waiting. So, anyway, I know that's kind of a big deal. But, back not just NIL, offenses, things that happen in college. Mm-hmm. You've heard of the NFL say it's a copycat league. Well, it's the same way in college, it's the same way in high school. A lot of people are doing the same things. But I'm going to tell you what I tell our guys. There's no magic book of secret plays that Georgia has or that Ole Miss has or that, Ohio State has. Most everybody has 90% of the same plays. It's what coaches can get their kids to execute those plays properly. There's not a magic book of plays. And timing is everything when you call certain things and maybe a trick play here or there. But there's no secret or magic book. And I'm tying this all back around to you better be able to block and tackle. And as a coaching staff, get your kids to execute. Get them to execute what you call. That's the main thing.
Coach, you're doing us a good job, and man, you covered a lot of ground and given a lot of really strong information, and we're covering our time real fast, and we're about out. But before we go, we're going to have to skip. We're going to have to skip some things. This means we're going to get to do this again.
Okay,
all right.
Like
so,
this.
but let's just go the schedule for Wayne County High School Warrior football next year. Have you got that put together yet? And if so, where are we in that?
Well, all right, where are we? We pretty much got it put together. We're still working. I ain't gonna lie to you. We're looking for one date. So let me start on the back end, because I can tell you that that is set. The back end is set, and that is our district schedule, right? Yeah. So, this year was a year for the new district. So, we basically, you draw them and put them in the matrix there, Marshall. So our first district game's on October 10th, okay? Yeah. We open at Stone County. That's going to be a big one. I didn't know this. I looked in a lot of history. I didn't know that, they beat us, and I won't say barely, but they beat us the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. And we were in both those games, but I found out they had beat us several times before. I'm going to say they kind of had our number the last 10 years or so, but we've got to change that because that's a big game. And that's the first game.
That's a good one to start a win with, isn't it?
Then we got Van Cleve back at home. I know we had them home. That's just the way it flipped when it's a 3-2 type situation in the 6-team region. You know what I'm saying? So they just got the unlucky draw. Mm-hmm. Then we got to go to East Central on the 24th of October. So here's the last two. Marshall, 2 new ones for you, okay? Yeah. We host Purvis, which we haven't done that, I don't know, in a while.
I don't know if we've ever played Purvis.
Okay, I don't see. I'm still checking. Yeah. I know we can find that out. Yeah. So Purvis comes to us, and then we close at Northeast Jones, which you may say, well, it's a visiting game, but it's 20 minutes down the road if
that's
that.
Handy, isn't it?
Yeah, it is handy. That beats driving 2 hours,
yes,
3 hours. So we got Northeast Jones there, their last one, and I know, hey, they got a pretty good football team. Yeah. I know they got some big old D linemen, and they got some good hard nosed players.
They had a good run this year.
Yeah. So they did. That is our district schedule, and that's set. All right. So let me tell you what we got on our.
I see one.
Our non-district. Right? Our non-district. So we're still working about a jamboree. We thought we had one, and that kind of fell through. Yeah. We're going to go to Mobile, and we're going to return the trip to Williamson. That's part of our 2-year contract. And I want to do that. Again, they get us better. Yeah. They get us better. Yeah. They get us better for playing Laurel, and they get us better for playing when we played Gaucher. They were
big, strong, fast, and tough.
They were scheduled for a reason. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's the first game, so we're still looking for week 2. And Marshall, it's done in the past, but we play West Rankin this year. They're at home. That's on that's a 7A school. But let me tell you something. We couldn't find anybody else in that spot. We had a team that said they'd play, and then they kind of backed out on us at the end. And so we got West Rankin, then we got George County and West Jones, to finish that out right now. So. Tough, you got a tough 5A team. I think Williamson they were 10-2 last year, went to the quarterfinals, I think. Then you got West Rankin, 7A school, and then 2 6As with George County and West Jones. So
I like it, Coach.
We're still looking. We got to get better. We got to develop some depth. But,
you're going to find out how good you are.
Real quick.
Well, listen, Coach, we're out of time, man. We've had a blast, brother.
That was quick.
It flies when you're having fun.
I guess so. Yes, sir.
But we appreciate you, what you stand for, and what you're doing here. We thank you for your time today to be with us. Folks, we're going to take a break to hear from one of our sponsors, and Dale and I'll be back with tonight's final segment of the Brouhaha. See you right after this commercial.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome back, everybody, to tonight's final segment, and a short one it's going to be. We've gone kind of a little long on our first 2 segments, but we'd like to thank Coach Hankins for being with us tonight. We want to thank you for joining us in our show tonight. I want to remind you that you can follow us during the week on our Facebook page at the Brouhaha, and you can also follow us on our YouTube channel, the Brouhaha, where all the shows are archived for you, where you can listen to them on demand. Again, we thank you for listening. We thank Coach Hankins for being with us tonight, and it's come to that time where it's time to say goodbye, Dale. So, goodbye, Dale. We'll see you next week for more of the Brouhaha. Get us out of here, Jamie.
You've been listening to the Brouhaha with Dale McKee and Marshall Wood. Heard Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. on WABO. For more of the Brouhaha, follow us during the week on Facebook and WABO.